I was standing in front of my phone screen, scrolling through my Facebook feed, when I saw her photo, my daughter Emily in a white dress, smiling, with a wedding ring on her finger. My world stopped. She's getting married and I find out about it on social media? I wanted to call her, to congratulate her, but there was a lump in my throat. Why didn't she tell me? I had devoted my whole life to her, hiding secrets that could have destroyed her. But when I showed up at the wedding uninvited, the truth came out and changed us both forever. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. The light in the kitchen flickered, casting shadows on the peeling wallpaper. Outside, the rain pounded, making the Chicago night seem heavier than most. Emily's face was still glowing on my phone screen. Her engagement photo burned into me, a wide smile, distant eyes fixed on a man I didn't know. The caption read, "Can't wait for our forever." It was posted 3 hours ago. 3 hours and not a single word to me. My chest felt tight, as if someone had turned a wrench in it. I pushed the coffee cup away, its chipped edge biting my palm, brown stains seeping onto the tablecloth. Emily's childhood drawing of a family of sticks, me with a too broad smile, smiled from the surface of the cup. Where was this girl now? I stood, pacing the cramped kitchen, my boots scuffing the linoleum. The clock ticked, each second louder than the rain. How could she not tell me? Her wedding. I'd always pictured walking her down the aisle, her arm in mine, like I'd promised Mary. But Emily hadn't called in months. Not since her last visit, when she'd barely looked at me, her eyes glued to her phone, her voice clipped. "I'm busy, Dad." Busy. I stopped pacing, my gaze falling on the locked drawer in the corner desk. Mary's necklace was inside, its silver chain coiled like a secret. I'd meant to give it to Emily years ago, but the moment never felt right. Maybe it never would. My hands shook as I grabbed the phone again. The screen's light stung my eyes. I scrolled past the photo, searching for a hint, a message, anything. Nothing. Just her perfect life, curated for strangers. A memory flashed: Emily at 6, twirling in the park, her laughter brighter than the sun. I'd pushed her on the swing, my hands calloused from the garage, my dreams of being an artist buried to pay for her future. I'd given up everything. Why wasn't it enough? My throat burned. Was it me? Had I failed her, like I'd failed myself? I sank into the chair, the wood creaking under my weight. The rain grew louder, streaking the window like tears. I thought of her graduation, 3 years back. I'd driven 4 hours to see her, clutching a bouquet of daisies, her favorite. She'd barely glanced at me, her friends swarming, her smile reserved for them. "Thanks for coming," she'd said, her voice flat. I'd left early, the daisies wilting in my truck. That was the last time we'd really talked. Now this. A wedding I wasn't invited to. A daughter who didn't want me there. My fingers hovered over the phone's keypad. Call her. Say something. But what? Why didn't you tell me? No, too desperate. I'm happy for you? A lie. I set the phone down, my pulse racing. The drawer called to me again, its lock glinting in the dim light. The necklace. It was Mary's, her last gift to Emily, meant for a moment like this. I could give it to her, show her I still cared, even if she didn't. My boots thudded as I crossed the room. The drawer's handle was cold, unyielding. I didn't have the key, not tonight. But I could find it, polish the necklace, make it perfect. For her. I leaned against the counter, staring at the phone. The rain hadn't let up, and neither had the ache in my chest. I'd spent years fixing cars, piecing together broken things. Could I fix this? Emily's silence felt like a verdict, but I wasn't ready to accept it. Not yet. I picked up the phone, my thumb brushing the screen. Her photo stared back, her smile a stranger's. I had to try. I had to show her what she meant to me. The necklace would be my gesture, my proof. But would she even care? My hand hovered over her number. The rain's rhythm matching my heartbeat. The garage smelled of oil and rust, a familiar comfort that did nothing to ease the knot in my stomach. I stood by my workbench, tools scattered like fallen leaves, the radio humming a faint country tune. Rain pattered on the tin roof, a steady drone that matched my mood. My phone lay beside a wrench, its screen dark but heavy with Emily's rejection still burning in my mind. I'd waited till morning to call her, hoping daylight would soften the blow. It hadn't. My fingers twitched, itching to pick up the phone, to try again. But her face, smiling in that wedding post, felt like a wall I couldn't climb. I grabbed a rag, wiping grease from my hands, though they were already clean. The necklace sat on the bench, freed from the locked drawer after an hour of searching for the key. Its silver chain gleamed under the flickering bulb, delicate and out of place among the tools. Mary's necklace. She'd worn it every day, her fingers brushing it when she laughed. I'd planned to give it to Emily for her wedding, a piece of her mother to carry. Now, it felt like a plea. I picked it up, the chain cool against my palm, and polished it gently, as if I could buff away the distance between us. My thumb hovered over the phone. Call her. Just do it. I pressed her number, my heart thudding. The line rang once, twice, then her voice, crisp, impatient. Dad? What is it? No warmth, no surprise. I swallowed, my mouth dry. Emily, I saw your post. The wedding. Congratulations. The words sounded hollow, like they belonged to someone else. Silence stretched, sharp as a blade. Thanks, she said finally, her tone clipped. It's a busy time. I gripped the phone tighter, the edge digging into my ear. I was thinking. I could come. I have something for you. Mom's necklace. Another pause, longer this time. Dad, don't. Her voice hardened, each word a jab. This is my day. I don't need you there, messing things up. Messing things up. My breath caught, like I'd been punched. Emily, I just want, she cut me off. No. Just, don't call again, okay? I've got enough to deal with. The line went dead. I stood frozen, the phone still pressed to my ear, her words echoing. Messing things up. Like I was a stain she could erase. I set the phone down, my hand trembling. The garage felt smaller, the air thick. A memory surfaced: Emily at 16, slamming the door after a fight. She'd wanted a new car, something flashy to impress her friends. I'd said no, not because I didn't care, but because I was saving for her college, her future. You're so cheap, she'd spat, her eyes flashing with Kate's disdain. Kate. Her aunt's voice had always lingered in Emily's tone, sharp and superior. Kate, who'd called me beneath Mary, who'd turned family dinners into trials. Had she poisoned Emily against me? I shook my head, pushing the thought away. It didn't matter. Emily had made her choice. I picked up the necklace again, its weight heavier now. My fingers traced the pendant, a tiny heart Mary had loved. I'd failed her, hadn't I? Not just Emily, but Mary too. I'd promised to keep our family whole. Instead, I was alone, clutching a relic of a life that no longer existed. But I wasn't done. Not yet. Emily could push me away, but I'd show her. I'd go to that wedding, uninvited if I had to. I'd give her the necklace, make her see what I'd given up. My jaw tightened, a spark of anger cutting through the hurt. She couldn't erase me. I set the necklace in a small velvet box, its edges worn but soft. The radio crackled, the song fading into static. Outside, the rain slowed, leaving only drips. I glanced at an old photo on the workbench: Emily at 10, grinning beside me at the garage, her hands smudged with grease. Had I given her too much, or not enough? I tucked the box into my pocket, the weight grounding me. The wedding was in a week. I'd find a way in. I had to. The park was quiet, its grass slick with rain that had finally stopped. I walked slowly, my boots sinking into the mud, the air sharp with the scent of wet leaves. A bench stood ahead, its wood warped but familiar, the same one where Mary and I used to sit, watching Emily chase butterflies. I settled onto it, the dampness seeping through my jacket, chilling my palms. The necklace rested in my pocket, its velvet box a steady weight. Emily's voice still rang in my ears, cold and final. "Don't call again." I closed my eyes, trying to shut it out, but the hurt lingered, raw as an open wound. My fingers brushed the box, tracing its edges. I'd spent years fixing things, carburetors, brakes, lives. But Emily? I couldn't fix her. Maybe I never could. A memory flickered, Mary in the hospital, her hand frail in mine, her breath shallow. "Promise me," she'd whispered, her eyes pleading. "Keep Emily safe." I'd nodded, my throat too tight to speak. But there was more, a promise I'd made to James, her laughter still echoing from years before. James, my friend, reckless and bright, gone in a crash that took his wife too. Emily was 3 months old, orphaned. I'd taken her in, adopted her, loved her as my own. But I'd never told her the truth. She wasn't mine by blood. James was her father. I opened my eyes, the park blurring for a moment. Why hadn't I told her? Fear, maybe. Fear she'd reject me, like she had now. I'd buried the secret in that locked drawer, with Mary's necklace and a letter I'd never sent. A dog barked in the distance, pulling me back. The bench creaked as I shifted, my hands clenching. I'd given up so much for her. Art school, my sketches gathering dust in the attic. Nights at the garage, working overtime to pay for her lessons, her clothes, her dreams. And yet, she saw me as a failure, a shadow of Kate's polished world. Kate, who'd whispered in her ear, turning my sacrifices into shame. Another memory surfaced, James, the night before the accident, his grin wide as he held Emily. "Take care of her, John," he'd said, half joking, his hand on my shoulder. I hadn't known it was a prophecy. After the crash, I'd stood in their empty house, Emily crying in my arms, her tiny fingers clutching my shirt. I'd promised then, to him, to Mary, to myself. But had I kept it? Emily's words yesterday, "You're messing things up," cut deeper than I'd admitted. Maybe I had. Maybe I'd held on too tight, or not tight enough. I pulled the necklace from my pocket, the heart pendant catching the gray light. Mary had worn it through every chemo session, her fingers tracing it like a prayer. It was hers, then mine, now Emily's if she'd take it. I turned it over, the metal cold against my skin. Going to the wedding meant facing her, Kate, the truth. Could I do it? Tell her about James, risk losing her forever? Or keep silent, let her hate me? My chest ached, the weight of years pressing down. But I was tired of hiding. Tired of being the man who gave up. A breeze stirred the trees, scattering leaves across the path. I stood, tucking the necklace back into my pocket. The park felt smaller now, the bench just a bench. I'd go to the wedding. Not to beg, but to show her who I was. The man who'd raised her, who'd loved her through every sacrifice. I started walking, the mud pulling at my boots, the necklace a quiet promise against my side. Could she ever understand? The sky was clearing, but the question hung heavy, unanswered. The garage smelled of grease and old wood, its dim bulb casting jagged shadows across my workbench. I sorted wrenches, their clinks a steady rhythm against the quiet Chicago evening. Emily's words still stung, "Don't call again," but the necklace in my pocket, its velvet box heavy, anchored me. I'd walked back from the park resolved, but doubt gnawed. Could I face her? The door creaked, and Rob stepped in, his work boots thudding. "You look like hell, John," he said, tossing his cap on the bench. His grin faded when he saw my face. I set a wrench down, its weight grounding me. "She's getting married, Rob." "Didn't tell me." My voice cracked, betraying the hurt. Rob leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "Emily? Damn. That's cold." He paused, studying me. "You going?" I hesitated, my fingers brushing the necklace's box. Was I? The thought of her wedding, without me, twisted like a blade. But staying away felt worse, like admitting I'd failed her. Failed Mary. "I have to," I said, the words solidifying my resolve. "She needs to see I'm still her father." Rob nodded, scratching his beard. All right. How you getting in? She invite you yet? I shook my head, my jaw tight. She told me to stay away. Rob whistled low. Tough kid. But you're tougher. We'll figure it out. He grinned, pulling a rag from his pocket. Got that old delivery van out back. Could pose as catering, sneak you in. I stared, the idea sparking. It was risky, but it could work. My pulse quickened, a mix of fear and purpose. I crossed to the workbench, pulling out the necklace. Its sapphire pendant caught the light, delicate yet fierce, like Mary's eyes. I'm bringing this, I said, holding it up. Her mother's. For the wedding. Rob's eyes softened. Good call. She can't ignore that. I wrapped it in tissue, tucking it into a small gift box, its edges frayed but soft. The act felt final, like signing a letter I'd never send. A memory flashed: Emily at 12, thanking me for ballet lessons, her hug warm. I'd skipped a fishing trip to pay for them, my hands raw from extra shifts. She'd cared then. Maybe she still could. Let's get you cleaned up first, Rob said, clapping my shoulder. No offense, but you can't show up looking like a grease monkey. I managed a half smile, the first in days. The next morning, I drove to a department store, its sterile glow jarring after the garage's grit. Suits hung in neat rows, their tags taunting me with prices. I picked a navy one, simple but sharp, its collar stiff against my neck. In the dressing room, the mirror showed a stranger, older, grayer, but standing taller. The suit felt like armor, heavy with intent. I bought it, the cashier's smile oblivious to the weight of my purchase. Back home, I hung the suit in my closet, its plastic bag rustling. The necklace sat on my dresser, the gift box stark against the chipped wood. I picked up an old photo: Emily at 8, grinning in a park, her pigtails bouncing. My throat tightened. Would she laugh if I showed up? Or turn me away? I'd given her my life, nights at the garage, dreams I'd buried. Now, I'd give her one last chance to see me. The suit's fabric brushed my fingers as I adjusted it, its texture smooth but unyielding, like my decision. Emily's photo stared back, her eyes a challenge I couldn't ignore. My bedroom floorboards creaked as I packed, the suitcase open like a confession. The suit lay folded inside, its navy folds precise, a promise I couldn't break. Mary's necklace rested on the dresser, its sapphire glinting in the morning light filtering through cracked blinds. I adjusted its clasp, the metal cool against my thumb, my hand steady despite the storm in my chest. Emily's rejection, "You're messing things up," echoed, sharp as a slap. I'd go anyway. Not to beg, but to show her who I was. The father she'd forgotten. I zipped the suitcase, its rasp loud in the quiet house. A memory surged: Emily at 16, storming out after a fight. She'd wanted a sleek convertible, something to flaunt at school. You don't get it, Dad, she'd snapped, her eyes flashing. I need this. I'd refused, my voice firm but cracking. Not because I didn't want her happy, but because her college fund, every penny I'd scraped, was sacred. She'd called me stingy, her words laced with Kate's venom. Kate, who'd swept in with her polished nails and checkbook, whispering I was holding Emily back. I'd seen her shadow in Emily's glare, her disdain seeping into my daughter. I shook my head, pushing the memory down. The van keys jingled in my pocket as I headed to the garage. Rob was already there, tinkering with the old delivery van, its white paint chipped but clean. She's ready, he said, wiping his hands on a rag. Engine's good, and I slapped a catering logo on the side. You're golden. I nodded, climbing into the driver's seat. The interior smelled of must and faint coffee, the rearview mirror cracked but clear. I adjusted it, catching my own eyes, tired, but sharp. Thanks, Rob, I said, my voice low. Means a lot. He shrugged, grinning. Just don't get caught, all right? I need my partner back. We loaded a fake delivery box, empty, but taped tight, into the back. My hands lingered on its edges, the cardboard rough. Could I pull this off? Sneak into a wedding I wasn't wanted at? Doubt crept in, cold as the morning air. Kate's voice surfaced, unbidden, a dinner years ago, her smile sharp as she'd said, "John, you're a good man, but Emily deserves more." More. The word had burned, and Emily's silence later proved she'd listened. My grip tightened on the box. Kate didn't know me. Neither did Emily, not anymore. But they would. I climbed out, the van's door slamming shut. Rob clapped my shoulder. "You got this. Give her that necklace, make her see." I nodded, the necklace's weight steady in my pocket. Another memory flickered. Emily at 10, drawing me a card for Father's Day, her crayon heart lopsided but bright. "You're the best, Daddy," she'd said, her hug fierce. That girl was still in there, buried under Kate's lies and Emily's pride. I had to believe it. The van's engine growled as I tested it, the vibration steadying my nerves. Tomorrow was the wedding. Tomorrow, I'd face her. I walked back to the house, the necklace's box in my hand. The hallway was dim, the air heavy with dust and memory. I set the box on the dresser, its velvet brushing my fingers. Outside, the city hummed, distant but alive. Could I make her understand? The van waited, its keys cold in my palm, a reminder of the road ahead. I glanced at the suitcase, the suit peeking out, and felt the pull of tomorrow, heavy but inevitable. The van's tires crunched on the gravel lot, the wedding venue looming across the street, a Chicago banquet hall, its stone facade glowing under evening lights. I parked in the shadows, my pulse racing, the suit's collar stiff against my neck. Mary's necklace rested in my pocket, its velvet box a quiet anchor. The hall's windows sparkled, chandeliers casting gold on silk-draped tables inside. Emily's world. Not mine. I gripped the steering wheel, the leather worn under my palms. I was here, uninvited, a stranger to my daughter's life. But I wouldn't turn back. I stepped out, the air cool, scented with roses from the venue's garden. The fake delivery box sat in the van's back, my ticket inside, or so I'd hoped. I adjusted my tie, the knot too tight, and crossed the lot, gravel shifting under my polished shoes. 2 security guards stood at the main entrance, their black suits crisp, clipboards in hand. My stomach twisted. I'd faced engines that wouldn't start, but this felt harder. I hefted the box, its weight light but awkward, and approached, forcing a smile. "Delivery for the Wilson wedding," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. The taller guard, his badge glinting, barely looked up. "Name," he barked, scanning his list. "John, from Lakeside Catering," I said, the lie clumsy. He flipped a page, his eyes narrowing. "Not on here." "You got ID?" My mouth went dry. I patted my pocket, stalling. "Must have left it in the van." The second guard stepped closer, his radio crackling. "No ID, no entry. Step aside." His tone was final, like a door slamming. I stood frozen, the box heavy in my arms. Humiliation burned, hot and sharp. I was nobody to them. To Emily. I backed away, my shoes scuffing the pavement. The hall's lights mocked me, each window a glimpse of a life I didn't belong to. Guests milled inside, suits, gowns, laughter. I caught a flash of white, maybe Emily, and my chest ached. A memory hit, her at 7, waving from a school play, her grin wide as I clapped from the back row. I'd been her hero then. Now, I couldn't even get past the gate. Doubt clawed at me. Was this a mistake? Would she hate me more if I pushed through? I set the box down, leaning against the van. The necklace pressed against my thigh, its sapphire heart a reminder. I wasn't here to ruin her day. I was here to show her mine. My sacrifices, my love. The guards' voices faded, their attention on a new car pulling up. I scanned the building, my eyes catching a side path narrow, lined with hedges, leading to a service door. A chance. My pulse quickened. The box could still work, if I played it right. I straightened, wiping sweat from my brow. A guest's laugh carried from the hall, sharp and carefree. Emily's world was inside, polished and perfect, built on years I'd spent in grease and grit. I'd given her that. She couldn't erase me. I picked up the box, its edges biting my palms, and started toward the path. The service door was close, its handle glinting in the dusk. Could I slip through? The necklace's weight steadied me, a promise I wouldn't break. I glanced back at the guards, their backs turned, and took a step forward, the path dark but calling. The side path was narrow, its hedges brushing my sleeves as I clutched the fake delivery box. The Chicago evening draped the banquet hall in shadow, its ivy-covered walls looming like a fortress. My suit clung to me, the tie a chokehold, but Mary's necklace in my pocket, its velvet box firm, kept me moving. The service door ahead glinted, its handle worn but sturdy. My heart pounded, each step a gamble. The guards at the main entrance were distracted, their radios crackling across the gravel lot. This was my chance. I couldn't falter now. I adjusted the box, its cardboard edges biting my palms, and tucked a borrowed clipboard under my arm. Rob's idea, a prop to sell the lie. The door was steps away, its hinges rusted, promising a creak. I glanced back, the lot quiet but alive with risk. A guard's voice carried, sharp and bored. Check the list again. My throat tightened. If they looked this way, I was done. I knocked lightly, the sound swallowed by the hum of the hall's music. A young worker opened the door, his apron stained, ice-tired. Delivery for the Wilson wedding, I said, holding up the clipboard, my voice low but steady. Kitchen's waiting. He squinted, glancing at the box. You're late. My pulse spiked, but I nodded, forcing a shrug. Traffic. Where's the drop-off? He hesitated, then jerked his thumb inside. Straight through, past the storage. I stepped forward, the door creaking shut behind me. My shoes clicked on the concrete floor, the air thick with steam and the clatter of pots. I was in. My chest loosened, a rush of triumph cutting through the fear. But it wasn't over. Emily was somewhere beyond these walls, radiant and unreachable. The hallway opened to the main hall, and I paused, the box heavy in my arms. Chandeliers sparkled above, casting gold on silk-draped tables, roses blooming in crystal vases. Guests laughed, their glasses clinking, their world polished and distant. I didn't belong here, my suit too stiff, my hands too calloused. A memory flickered. Emily at 9, giving me a Father's Day card, her crayon heart lopsided but fierce. For the best dad, she'd written, her hug warm. That girl felt gone, replaced by someone who'd barred me from this day. My fingers brushed the necklace's box. I'd make her see me. I set the box behind a stack of crates, the clipboard tucked inside. My reflection caught in a mirrored wall, my face older, sharper, but resolute. Could I face her? The crowd's murmur grew, music swelling. A waiter passed, his tray wobbling, and I moved deeper into the hall, blending with the shadows. My eyes scanned the room: gowns, tuxedos, laughter. Then I saw her. Emily, in white, her dress flowing like a dream, her arm linked with her fiancé's. Her smile was perfect, but her eyes were guarded, scanning the room. My breath caught, the necklace's weight pulling me forward. I froze, my hand on the velvet box, unsure if I should step into her light or stay hidden. The hall buzzed, candlelight flickering on silverware, the air heavy with perfume and champagne. Emily stood across the room, her white dress glowing, her laughter sharp as she leaned into her fiancé. I lingered near a mirrored wall, the necklace's box a lifeline in my pocket, my suit stiff against my skin. Her eyes swept the crowd, then locked on mine. Her smile vanished, her face hardening like stone. My stomach dropped. She'd seen me. The music's hum faded, the room narrowing to her glare. I took a step, my shoes loud on the polished floor, but she was already moving, her dress trailing like a storm. She reached me in seconds, her fists clenched, her voice a low hiss. What are you doing here? Each word cut, sharp and cold. I swallowed, my throat dry. Emily, I had to come. I brought something. I reached for the necklace, my fingers fumbling, but she stepped closer, her eyes blazing. Get out. Now. You're embarrassing me. The words landed like blows. My chest tightening. Guests turned, their whispers a soft roar, their eyes curious, judging. I glimpsed Kate in the distance, her smirk sharp, her wineglass tilted like a toast to my failure. "I'm not here to ruin anything," I said, my voice cracking. "It's your mother's necklace, Emily. For you." I held out the box, its velvet worn but warm. She stared, her lips parting, then snapped, "You think a gift fixes everything? You were never there, Dad. Always working, always cheap." Her voice rose, trembling with years of resentment. A memory crashed in Emily at 16, slamming the door after I refused her a car, her shout echoing, "You don't care about me." I'd saved every cent for her future, but she'd seen only denial, fueled by Kate's whispers. My hand shook, the box heavy. "I gave you everything," I said, softer now, pleading. "You don't know what I sacrificed." She laughed, bitter, her eyes wet. "Sacrifice? You mean hiding behind your tools while I needed a father?" The crowd's murmurs grew, a wave of heat climbing my neck. I was exposed, raw, the man she'd painted a failure. Kate's gaze burned from afar, her satisfaction clear. My fingers tightened on the box, the sapphire inside a silent promise to marry. I'd come to show love, not shame, but Emily's words stripped me bare. Could I stay? Let her hate me in front of them all? My jaw clenched, anger sparking through the hurt. No. I wouldn't leave. Not like this. I turned, my eyes catching the stage at the hall center, its wooden platform lit by a single spotlight. The microphone stood empty, waiting. A crazy thought hit, speak, tell them all. The truth about her, about James, about me. My pulse raced, fear and resolve colliding. Emily grabbed my arm, her nails sharp. "Don't you dare," she whispered, her voice a warning. I met her gaze, her eyes a mirror of my own pain. "I'm done hiding," I said, my voice steady for the first time. I pulled free, the necklace's weight grounding me, and started toward the stage, the crowd's murmurs fading, the spotlight's glow pulling me forward. The stage's edge creaked under my foot, a promise or a threat. The hall's edges blurred, the crowd a sea of faces under the chandelier's glow. I stood at the stage's foot, its wooden platform scuffed but solid, the microphone a cold sentinel in the spotlight's heat. Emily's voice still echoed, "You're embarrassing me," each word a weight I carried. My hand rested on the necklace's box in my pocket, its sapphire heart a pulse against my thigh. The crowd whispered, their eyes like needles, some curious, some hostile. Kate's glare cut through, her lips tight, her control slipping. I'd come to give a gift, but now I faced a choice, stay silent or speak the truth. My boots scuffed the floor as I took a step, the stage looming. Fear gripped me, cold and sharp. What if I ruined her day? Her life? The truth, Emily wasn't mine, not by blood, was a bomb, its fuse lit years ago when I'd promised James I'd raise her. A memory surfaced, vivid and raw, James in his hospital bed, his face bruised, his voice weak. "She's yours now, John," he'd said, his hand gripping mine as Emily wailed in the nursery. I'd nodded, Mary beside me, her eyes fierce with love. That promise had shaped my life, my sacrifices, art school abandoned, nights at the garage, dreams buried for her future. But Emily didn't know. She saw only my failures. I glanced at her, standing rigid near her fiancé, her dress a stark white against the hall's warmth. Her eyes pleaded, but for what? Silence? Forgiveness? My chest ached. Keeping the secret had cost me her love, her trust. Telling it might cost more, but I was tired of hiding, of being the shadow she despised. The stage's spotlight burned, its light both trap and freedom. I took another step, the wood creaking, the crowd's murmurs sharpening. A guest coughed, another shifted, their anticipation heavy. Could I do this? Speak in front of them all, bare my soul? Another memory hit Mary, her last day, her hand frail in mine. "Tell her when she's ready," she'd whispered, her voice a thread. "She deserves the truth." I'd promised, but fear had locked the words away, in that drawer with the necklace. With a letter I'd never sent. Now, the moment was here, unready but undeniable. My fingers brushed the microphone stand, its metal chilled, a shock against my skin. Kate moved, her heels clicking, her face a mask of warning. She'd shaped Emily's scorn, but she wouldn't shape me. Not anymore. I climbed the stage, each step heavier, the spotlight blinding. The crowd stilled, their eyes a weight I couldn't shake. Emily's fiancé whispered to her, his arm protective, but she stood frozen, her gaze locked on me. My throat tightened, doubt clawing. Was this love, or revenge? I didn't know. But I knew silence wasn't an option. The necklace's box pressed against me, a reminder of who I'd been, who I was. I reached for the microphone, its hum a low pulse, the crowd's silence deafening. My breath caught, the words forming, heavy but true, ready to spill into the light. The spotlight burned my face, its heat a pulse against my skin. I gripped the microphone, its hum a low growl, the banquet hall silent except for the creak of a chair. Faces stared, hundreds, their eyes wide, some shocked, others judging. Emily stood frozen near the front, her white dress stark, her hands clasped tight. Kate's glare pierced from the side, her lips a thin line. My throat tightened, the necklace's box heavy in my pocket, its sapphire heart urging me on. I'd come to give a gift, but now I held the truth, a weight I'd carried for decades, ready to spill. I cleared my throat, the sound sharp. I'm John Keller, I began, my voice steady despite the tremor in my chest. Emily's father. Or so I've tried to be. A gasp rippled through the crowd, Emily's eyes widening. She didn't want me here. I get why. I'm just a mechanic, not the father she wanted. My words hung, raw. I pulled the necklace from my pocket, its chain glinting. This was her mother's, Mary's. I came to give it to her, to show I care. But there's more. My breath caught, the truth clawing free. Emily, you're not my daughter. Not by blood. The hall froze, a collective inhale. Emily paled, her fiancé's arm steadying her. Kate stepped forward, her face twisting, but I pressed on. Your father was James Morgan, my friend. He and your mother died in a crash when you were 3 months old. I took you in, raised you, loved you. I never told you because I didn't want you to feel less mine. My voice broke, memories flooding, James's laugh, his hand on my shoulder, his plea, take care of her. I'd promised, and I had, every day. I held up the necklace, its sapphire catching the light. This was meant for you, Emily. But so was the truth. I saved for your future, not a car you wanted at 16, because I wanted you to have more. I gave up my dreams, art, a life I might have had, to give you yours. The crowd murmured, some nodding, others whispering. Emily's eyes glistened, her hands trembling. Kate's glare faltered, her control slipping. I looked at Emily, my voice softening. I'm not perfect. But I'm your father, always. I lowered the necklace, its weight final. I won't give this to you now. Not because you don't deserve it, but because I need to keep something of her, of us. My chest ached, but lighter, unburdened. The crowd was a blur, their reactions distant. A memory flashed, the accident, sirens, Emily's tiny cries in my arms. I'd carried her then, and the truth now. I stepped back, the microphone's feedback a sharp cry. Emily's sob broke the silence, soft but piercing. I turned, my shoes heavy on the stage, and walked toward the exit, the necklace warm in my hand. The night air hit me outside, cool and sharp, a sob echoing behind me, pulling at my heart. The parking lot stretched dark and quiet, the banquet hall's glow fading behind me. My shoes crunched on wet gravel, the Chicago night wrapping me in its damp chill. The van waited, its chipped paint a familiar shadow, the necklace heavy in my pocket, its velvet box a silent companion. My breath clouded in the air, each step echoing the speech I'd just given Emily's origins, my sacrifices, the truth laid bare. My chest felt hollow, like I'd poured everything out, leaving only echoes. I'd freed myself, but at what cost? Her sob lingered in my mind. A question I couldn't answer. I climbed into the van, the seat creaking, the air musty. The city's lights blurred through the windshield, streaking like memories. I drove, the hum of the engine steadying me, the necklace's weight a reminder of what I'd kept. The truth was out, but I was alone again, the road ahead empty. A memory surfaced. Mary, years ago, her laugh bright as she held my sketchbook. "You're an artist, John," she'd said, her fingers tracing my drawings. I'd set it aside for Emily, for bills, for life. Now, with the truth spoken, that part of me stirred, restless, alive. Back home, the kitchen was dim, its floorboards groaning under my weight. I set the necklace on the counter, its sapphire dull without the stage's light. The suitcase sat in the corner, the suit crumpled inside, a relic of a day that felt distant. I unpacked slowly, my hands moving on their own, the silence thick. A neighbor's dog barked outside, a sharp interruption. "You're late, John," Mrs. Carter called from her porch, her voice warm but distant. "Everything okay?" I nodded, managing a smile. "Just a long day," I said, my voice rough. She waved, disappearing into her house, leaving me with the quiet. I opened the locked drawer, its key cold in my palm, and placed the necklace inside, next to a letter I'd never sent Mary. The drawer's click was final, a chapter closed. My eyes caught an old canvas in the corner, its edges yellowed, a half-finished sketch of a park where Emily once played. I pulled it out, dust swirling, and set it on the table. My fingers itched, the urge to draw sudden and fierce. Could I start again? Be the man I'd buried? The house creaked, the city's hum faint through the window. I sat, the canvas stark, my hand still. The truth had changed everything. Emily, me, the years between us. I replayed her sob, wondering if she felt shame, anger, or something softer. I'd done what I came to do, but the emptiness lingered, a space where her love used to be. Yet, I felt lighter, like I'd shed a skin. I reached for a pencil, its wood worn, and paused. The phone buzzed on the table, an unknown number flashing, its vibration sharp against the wood. My pulse quickened, the canvas waiting, the call a pull I couldn't ignore. The phone's buzz cut through the kitchen's quiet, its screen blowing with an unknown number. I hesitated, my fingers hovering, the canvas on the table a silent challenge. It was late, the Chicago night thick outside, but something pulled me to answer. "Hello?" I said, my voice cautious. A pause, then Emily's voice, soft, trembling. "Dad, it's me. Can we talk?" My heart stuttered, the word dad a warmth I hadn't felt in years. I agreed to meet at a cafe downtown, the next morning, my hands shaking as I set the phone down. The canvas stared back, its empty lines a promise I'd return to. The cafe was warm, its air thick with coffee and cinnamon, steam curling from mugs on wooden tables. I sat by the window, condensation streaking the glass, the city's hum a low pulse. Emily arrived, her coat damp from drizzle, her eyes red-rimmed, her usual polish gone. She slid into the seat across me, her hands twisting a napkin, her gaze avoiding mine. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice breaking. "For the wedding, for everything. I didn't know." Her words landed soft, heavy with shame. I leaned forward, my throat tight. "You couldn't have," I said, my voice steady but warm. "I kept it from you." She looked up, her eyes wet. "Why didn't you tell me? About James, about me?" Her voice wavered, a mix of hurt and need. I sighed, my fingers tracing the table's grain. "I was scared. Scared you'd stop seeing me as your father." A memory flashed. Emily at 5, her arms around my neck, her laugh bright after a park day. I'd been her world then. "I wanted to protect you," I added, softer. "Maybe I held on too tight." She nodded, a tear falling, the napkin shredding in her hands. "I was awful," she said, her voice small. "I listened to Kate, believed I deserved more. I was wrong." Her admission hung, fragile but true. I reached out, my hand covering hers, its warmth grounding us. "You're here now," I said, my voice firm. "That's enough." The necklace was at home. Locked away, a piece of Mary I'd keep. Emily didn't need it to know I loved her. She squeezed my hand, a small smile breaking through, her eyes softer, like the girl I'd raised. The waiter passed, his tray clinking, the cafe's chatter a gentle hum. I pulled a napkin closer, my fingers sketching absent-mindedly a tree, like the one Emily climbed as a child. "You're drawing again," she said, her voice lighter, surprised. I nodded, the pencil scratch a quiet joy. Trying to, I said, smiling. Got time to make up. A memory stirred, her hug after a school play, her pride in me. We were different now, but here, rebuilding. The cafe's warmth wrapped us, the past a shadow we'd outgrown. I stood to leave, the napkin sketch folded in my pocket, Emily beside me. The drizzle had stopped, sunlight breaking through, its warmth soft on my face. I stepped outside, the sketch a weightless promise, the city alive around me. Emily's footsteps followed, a rhythm I'd missed, a new beginning unfolding in the light. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.